Hey, good morning. This is John Barton from JB Cases. So we're having, like an ongoing debate for those of you who follow my channel about center to edge aiming systems in general, pool in general, how to play pool, and so on. So one of the arguments that I hear all the time is center to edge aiming is not a magic bullet. I mean, one of the things that critics or even those who aren't really critics but who don't really understand what we're trying to talk about when we talk about centered edge aiming, they say it's not a magic bullet, it's not a magic fix for your game, and so on. They then go on to say, there's lots of other things in your game, like, centered edge aiming can't account for spin, it doesn't account for speed or conditions of the table, and all that. All that is absolutely correct. This is not a magic fix for your game, okay? What it does is it helps you to be accurate in your aim, how you aim the ball. And there's other ways to get to the same thing. So there's other ways to get to the same thing that work, but lots of ways, So real quick, I'm just going to run through a couple of them real quick with a simple shot. Okay, now most people would say this is a simple shot to the side right here. So we're going to the side pocket right there. And here, I need to move the camera a little bit so you guys can see it. Everything's reversed here, so I'll try to get that down a little bit so you can see the side. Okay. All right, here we go. So here we have it. Here we have it. Easy shot to the side, right? And most people would say, hey, if you have any experience at all in pool, you can easily just jump on this and find the right line of aim or the shot line to get to the shot, right? So it's right there. Now, if you're using ghost ball, you would imagine a ball right there. So you imagine a ball in that space. You line up to that. That's another way to do it, right? If you're using what's called 90-90, you would go like this. Line up here to these two edges, pivot to center, and you're in the same place, right? You're in ghost ball. If you use center to edge aiming, you would go center to edge and edge to A in this case, half tip, pivot to center, and you're right there in the same spot. So all four of those ways line you up to this shot. That's clear. And there's other ways that you can do it, Heck, we discovered another way yesterday, You can go like this, center to center, pull it over here to the edge, and then simply parallel shift to right here, and you're back to ghost ball again. So you're back to where you need to be to make this ball. So there's many ways to get lined up to the geometrically perfect shot line, all right? And in perfect conditions, you shoot down that line with center ball on the center axis. Everything goes, it works, right? So we'll just use 90-90 here. Come in. You shoot right down that line. It goes right in the pocket, okay? And then that stuff works anywhere here. 90-90. Shoot right down the line. And it goes right in the pocket. So people like me and a lot of other people, we find what we call the objective methods, where you don't have to imagine a ghost ball, you don't have to feel it, you just simply choose the reference points, line up to them, and move into the shot. We find that to be much, much easier and much more accurate to get to the center ball shot line. But now, some of the critics will say that they will dismiss aiming systems because they will say, well, fine, maybe that helps you to get to the center ball shot line, but pool is not played on the center ball shot line. It's played, you have to use spin, you have to account for table conditions, you have to do all these things. And how do you judge that? Okay, well, let's talk about that real quick. The old conventional way is, if you're going to use spin, so if you use inside spin, for example, then your ball is going to go away from the spin. So if you hit the ball on this side. So if you hit the ball on this side, the cue ball moves away, and then the spin takes hold and it moves back in. So a very slight curve, right? But first it moves away from the spin, from the force. That's called deflection. And the amount that it does, what it's doing is called also squirt. The cue ball is squirting away. So conventional wisdom says if this is the ghost ball, right? Here we are. You actually have to aim thicker a little bit. So you would aim right here to account for the amount of squirt that is going this way, or the amount of deflection from your cue is causing going this way. So instead of, if you actually hit the ball here, you would miss it right here. But what happens is when you use spin, the idea is that the cue ball is going to squirt out this way, and then when the spin takes effect, it's going to come in and be right there where the ghost ball is. Now, if you followed that little example I gave you, you can probably imagine the difficulty in trying to imagine how much to adjust where you're aiming to calculate the amount of squirt and spin and everything to get it exactly right there, right? That's actually a difficult task, very difficult, if you do it that way, okay? Because you got distance and everything else. Now, with center ball aiming systems, right? Objective aiming systems, at the very least, you get a baseline from which you could adjust. You could at least decide, if I'm going to use this much spin, then I'm going to move over that much or this much, right? Because you got a line. So if I use, like, say 90-90, for example, now there's my ghost ball line. So now I can make a conscious decision, right? I can make a conscious decision to come over, let's say, for example, one tip, move to center. Now I can go in with spin, right? And I can shoot it with spin. And when I do that, if I've practiced it, I know exactly how much to go over and do it. And then, of course, I would have to continue to practice. But I always have that center ball line from which to decide how much to go over if I want to do it that way. Now, another way that you can do spin and everything with center ball line aiming systems is you can use what's called backhand English, and that's what I use. So, backhand English is where you simply move your backhand. You get the center ball line aim. In this case, I'm going to use 90-90 again. So I'm going to go here, pivot to center. Now I'm at center ball, right? But this is what a center ball hit looks like and exactly where the cue ball goes. So you can see the line, right? Now I'm going to use right spin. Watch. 90-90. Pivot to center. There's my ghost ball. Now watch what happens when I want to use right spin. All I'm going to do is move my backhand to the spin. And you can see how the ball takes off like that. Now, I'm going to do the exact same thing. This time I'm going to use inside spin. Center to, or 90-90. This is the easy aiming system. Pivot to center, right? So now I'm at center ball. Now I'm going to use inside spin. So all I do is I move my backhand to inside, and I'm stroking along that inside line. And you can see how that works. So as you can see right there, I didn't do any adjustment to the center ball line of aim. All I did was I moved my cue to the backhand. I moved my cue using my backhand to the spin position that I wanted. So the fact is that it's often misunderstood how you actually can use spin with these center ball line aiming systems, okay? I just made that up, by the way, center ball line aiming, because all of these good aiming systems, they get you to what the shot needs to be if you use no side spin, okay? So if you don't use any side spin, that's your line of aim or your shot line that you're going to get on. If you want to use side spin, you will need to know the table conditions, the cues, the ball conditions, all that, but you'll have a baseline from which to calculate. Now, the first thing I do is I just line up with my center ball line spin, my center ball line aim, and I use my backhand English and I see what's happening, right? So if I notice, for example, that the way that I like to do it on, say, good equipment like this is not working, so my normal baseline method is producing something different, that's the point where I will then adjust. You adjust for conditions, right? So that's the point where I will then make a conscious choice to aim thinner or thicker off of that baseline in order to compensate for spin. But if I don't need to compensate for spin because the conditions are right for that, then I don't. I just simply get up here, if this is my shot, and like I said, I use my aiming system to get my center ball line aim, and I decide what spin I need. You know, so if I need lots of right spin, I do that. If I need lots of left spin, I do that. If I need a little bit, I do that. Right? So if you're here and you need to get way up here, center ball line aim, right there. Move to the spin, and there you go. I mean, it doesn't really get any easier than that. So the bottom line here is when you have a baseline that you know is accurate, you stick with it until you need to adjust. Okay? And yes, you must learn as a pool player, you must learn when and how you need to adjust. But taking care of that very first problem, which is figuring out what the aiming line is with no spin, is what allows you then to figure out how to adjust consistently and accurately when you need to adjust. So anyway, that's my take on that as far as how the aiming systems fit in to the rest of the game and what they're good for. So there you go. Thank you very much, and you guys have a good day. And remember, go to jbcases.com, because if you want to be sure that there's absolutely one great thing about your game, make it the case that's on your shoulder when you're walking in, because that's definitely going to protect your cue, and you're going to look good doing it. And then when you take the cue out, you can do whatever you can do on the table, and I hope that you're learning every day how to become a better player. Take care. Bye-bye.